We go. All right. Welcome everybody back to our thing that we do. I'm Jesse.
This
And
thing.
yes, we are a week past the Arizona Duke game, and a lot has happened. And as you just mentioned, Mike, there's been more, media to consume around Arizona and Duke than probably most of Arizona's full seasons over the last.
Yeah.
So people don't need more of it. So we're just going to give kind of a quick springboard into some of the deeper dives that we're doing today around Duke, and then we're going to transition that into some really cool defensive efficiency numbers and clips, and we're going to do a deep dive on Mike's going to do a deep dive on Jaden Bradley and some optimism, I think.
Yeah, some points of optimism. Yes.
Yeah, and so we wanted to start by sharing our disparate experiences with Duke, because I really was not able. I had competing priorities last Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific. So I watched the replay after consuming all this media, which I'll talk about. And Mike's exhausted from it, but you got to see it live. What was it like? I just want to know, was it like as a fan? Because I haven't talked to you about it.
Yeah.
Like watching that live, what
Intense. That
yeah.
was intense. You think you mentioned previously the Parthenon of like what win would matter most in college basketball to you. Winning at Cameron, right? So it's just it was really an overwhelmingly emotional experience, honestly. Yeah, it felt like a very tight game. It felt like a very competitive game, but I was thrilled to see that we were the tougher team, maybe the stronger team. That I don't know that that's something that we'd seen in a while. So, a blast, and some stuff that I loved. Yeah.
Totally.
You,
Yeah. It
you
was,
had a totally different watching experience.
no, it was interesting for me because I forced myself to wait to check the score. Like I've noticed over the years, if I check the score in the middle of a game, then it's like the floodgates are open and I can't stop. And in a game like that, I'm going to spiral no matter what. If we're up, I'm going to be afraid that we're going to lose it. If we're down, I'm afraid we're going to lose it. So I just forced myself to wait till 6:30, and I figured by then, overtime and out of bounds reviews would be over. And so I remember like looking at it and being like, all right, like this makes
Yeah.
sense. And then consuming all the media without seeing the game was a little bit confusing when I watched the game, because the media was so overwhelmingly like taking the narrative that Arizona is like really beat up Duke. And I think partially that holds some truth, which we're going to dive into in a minute
Yeah.
here. But also it was such a great lesson for me. And one of the reasons why I like watching the replays first is I can be more objective. And
Yeah.
really, as you and I were talking about, we made 7 free throws in the last 49 seconds, starting with that 3-point play with Johnson, and missing. And I think 4 of them were 1-and-1s, right? With Love and Pella.
Yeah.
And you miss one of those, even if you go 3 out of 4, forget missing the front end, somebody on Duke's going to come down and hit a 25-footer and you're down 1 and you probably lose. So
I was scared for my life.
totally. So
Yeah.
like, don't over invest in the narrative, because had we lost by 1, there was still a ton. We still were the tougher team. We probably still were the better team. Had we won by 5, we still have stuff to work on. And so
Yeah.
that's like what you and I enjoy looking at, is how can we sort of do outcome independent fan enjoyment. And
Yeah.
so the thing that I wanted to kick off with, shout out to the Wildcat Authority folks who tried to help troubleshoot. We're still working with a little bit of DIY footage, but I think I got theater mode on YouTube to be less distracting. So I want to talk about just like what I took from that game, and I think everybody took from that game, was I can't remember a time as an Arizona fan, like maybe for a minute in like 20, like what was the team? Was it Solomon Hill's senior year that we almost beat Ohio State to go to the Elite Eight when we were a 6 seed?
Yeah.
Okay, we beat Harvard, and we beat whoever we beat in the first round.
Yeah.
And then like the 2014 team that lost to
Right.
Ashley, like there were moments where I was like, man, we are tougher. Because normally
Yeah.
we're like, oh, we're good shot makers. We have individual players, but we don't have the culture of toughness. We're not like
Yeah.
Big East 1987.
Yeah.
I felt so much pride just watching that game and being like, we could have easily lost this, but we were not getting pushed around
Not at
at all.
all.
And so
No.
this kind of toe to toe mentality that I think Tommy did some self reflection on last year and
Culture change.
decided that we are going to embrace that on all levels. And part of that starts with the scheduling. So this first clip I'm going to show is, it's been well documented. Somebody posted a really cool video with much more commentary and graphics about how Tommy switched up the pick and roll defense
Mm-hmm.
way through the second half. So this is not to pretend that I'm, some basketball mind, but just to point out how when they made the switch. So earlier we were covering Filipowski by having Keshad tag the roller, and then I think they were just basically saying, "Is Filipowski going to beat us from three? Let's make him prove it." And because he wasn't that great of a shooter last year, right?
Which I thought was a good idea. That's exactly what I would have done.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because if he misses, if he goes 1 for 6, they're in trouble, right? And
Yeah.
he's far less effective if he's out there just shooting. So
Yeah.
good on them. And Filipowski's worked on his shot. And then when they switched, and here's an example of when Keshad actually guarded him. And we're up 3 with 10 minutes to go. And I just want to show how he took this challenge on in a
Yeah.
few. So you can see this, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So here he is on the ball.
Mm-hmm. Just in his grill. And there's Balo down low, which I love. That's what I wanted was Balo to play a pretty darn deep drop. And say, look, if you're gonna come in here, you're gonna have to deal with me and not have Balo chasing around on the outside.
Totally. So that was the first one. And then, oh, look at this. Wow.
Are we earning anything on this? We're not. Disclaimer, this is not us.
This is where the Wildcat Authority people are like, see, you should get the clips ahead of time. All right, I will get that next time. I'll figure it out. It's hard to have so many priorities. Hang in there. There's Lady Gaga, pharmaceutical.
Lady freaking Gaga?
Lady freaking Gaga. Okay. So here is one where, again, you're going to get Johnson on Filipowski. And this is a crucial moment. Watch how he watch what he does here. Yeah. This is to me emblematic of where this team's going. In his chest projection.
Just
Basically
super mobile, super long, super strong.
And willing to take on the challenge.
Yeah.
And not just say we'll get the points back, And then this one might be the most critical. Let's see. Yes, so on the inbounds, watch how he defends this and gets the rebound.
Good.
Watch this. Watch him get this rebound.
Ooh.
And then come
a foul
with 2 hands and get the rebound.
Huge. Big boy ball.
He got knocked back. I'm going to do that one again.
It sure did, dude.
Dude, he got knocked back and walled up and got a two-hand rebound on this. Tell me which Arizona player in the last 20 years, besides maybe Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, I'm thinking Gordon, obviously, right?
And
doesn't go to the ground looking for a foul call, catches his balance and gets back in the game and makes the difference with that rebound.
In the last one, and Keshad wasn't the only thing, but this is what I put together. He wasn't the only highlight, in this game. But here's when the game's tied, and now you're going to see an example of when he switches with Larson, and now he's guarding the point guard. And they end up scoring on this play, but the point still remains that he forced him into a tough 2-pointer that was, he got the initial miss, right? Yeah. So watch how the switch happens. Mm-hmm. Watch how he makes up ground on this point guard. Forces him into a tough miss. They get the offensive board. Good for them. But we can still defend like that, and most of the time it's going to work for us.
I love it.
So I was just really excited as a fan to be like, we're the tougher team. We had 17 turnovers, and there was a lot to clean up, which we're going to look at next. And we shouldn't get too overhyped in the narrative, but
right.
Damn, it feels good to beat Duke.
Feels good to beat Duke. Feels good to be the tougher team. Cheers to that. but yeah, like does Duke deserve to drop a bunch in the rankings, and are we immediately the best team in the country? I think that was such a closer game than anyone who wasn't living in it gives it credit for. So hat tip to Duke. I think they're still a really good team. That could have gone either way. Yeah, we got some stuff to work on.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because if we lose that game, if we miss one free throw and they win by one, let's say, the narrative then becomes Caleb Love's 3 for 10 with 6 turnovers. What's going wrong?
Sure.
He's still, so like, I think we have to be really mindful of like our own perceptions of it. And that's what we're going to get into now. So awesome to get the win, and then right back against Southern, which I know you're excited to dissect. I was really excited to see how we came out against Southern. So yeah, tell me where you want to go there.
I was as well. Obvious concern about letdown game. You and I were texting before that game, just like really hope they come out with the energy. I thought for the most part that they did. I know that we didn't have that successful of a first half. I'm sure a lot of us, I don't know if I was in the chat box, but I'm sure it was in the game thread on Wildcat Authority, but I'm sure there was some grumblings in there. But the toughness and the defense kept us in that game. That it kept us going. They went on like an 11-minute no scoring drought in that first. Mm-hmm. No field goal drought in that first half, and I just think that's incredible. KenPom numbers. The beginning of the year, we were forecasted at I think 26th or something like that in defensive efficiency, adjusted defensive efficiency, right? So that reflects who you've played. Currently, top 10. We're number 9 in adjusted defensive efficiency. I know you and I were talking earlier about, well, it's cupcakes. Well, that does reflect it, and obviously we do want to see a little more proof in the pudding. But I think we held Duke to maybe about 1 point per possession, which is great. And then the games against Southern and Morgan State were less than I think 0.8 points per possession, which is really really good.
And I would say this, we didn't talk about this last time because we were short on time, but it's weird for me when teams come into McHale, because it almost seems like the first 10 minutes of any team, the psychology favors the visiting team. They have nothing to lose. They're really focused, and teams tend to shoot really well. It seems like Morgan State had pretty good shot making. They just couldn't get enough shots. They just kept, turning. But like I went back through that, and I was kind of like in my mind rating just how hard is this shot that they made. And a lot of them are like on the more difficult, just from my,
Southern too. Same thing.
In the second half, that the flamethrower Jordan Kent was calling, he made some tough shots, and they also balanced that with missing a 5 or 8 pretty makeable shots at the rim, but I thought we still contested well.
Yeah. And then, speaking about what, can I go into, shots at the rim for Arizona? This is something that is, we're coming out of that win against Duke. We're feeling, high on our horse. What can we do better? And for me, I'm breaking down the stats, and I see that our rim finishing just isn't where we want it to be. And I'm trying to pull this up really quick. Let's see. So let's take a look at the Matherin team. They were pretty awesome at rim finishing. So let me pull this up here.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I wanted to say earlier too, like Tommy has such an intention with getting easy 2-point shots, because that's what's more bulletproof in March. Didn't work last year, but I think the strategy is really sound. So that's where this comes from, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, analytically, right, you want shots at the rim and 3-point attempts. And we were really great in the Matherin year on 3-point attempts and on shots at the rim. It's one of the reasons why we were one of the best offenses in the nation. You see here, everybody basically above 60%, even Justin Kier, little Justin Kier, shout out, love you guy. About 60%. That's great. Like, that's what you want. It's early, but if you look at this season, let's get big.
Small sample size, but I think it's going to show like where Cats fans can look for improvement. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so you see rim finishing, really good. Rim finishing, really good. Rim finishing, really good. Good. Let's stop with KJ. So these guys doing really well. Kashad, Omar, Kylan, Pella, KJ.
Don't leave
Basically what you
out Philly
expect.
B, man.
Yeah, Billy B down there as well. Um, Caleb, about what he was last year. Monty, strangely low. And Bradley, who I'm going to talk about a bunch in a sec. Monty, he's not going to finish at 44%, right?
What do you expect? What do you think? 60?
Of 60 plus, yeah. I think he's going to be certainly finishing at the rim in the 60s by the end of the year. Yeah.
I would think
Um,
so. He seems just
yeah.
a little, I think he's just adjusting to the intensity and pace of the game, but like he looks like some of those little flip shots, he's just rushing a little bit. But
$100%.
we saw it this summer, like when he's comfortable, he's got as good a, I mean, he's got like Dusan Ristic type touch with much more diversity to his skill set even.
Yeah, 100% with more length and more fluidity to his athleticism, right, or to his movement. So fully with you there. I definitely think that Mo Creve is not a concern. I'm not worried about him. So let's look at the other two guys. Jaden Bradley, really low down here. Don't love that. Caleb wanted him to be above 50% this year, but what Caleb's doing is he's only taking 16% of his shots, 17% of his shots at the rim, which is great. That's reflective of him driving, seeing that it's a tough shot, and passing out of it, right? That's something that you and I have touched on, I think, last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his decision making there. So Jaden, he's taking a ton of shots at the rim, and a lot of them are ugly looks. And so that is something where I believe that there's really good opportunity for him to correct that. I think it's some simple stuff.
And you're gonna show us some clips, because I'm curious about you saying like ugly shots, because my perspective has been he's been a little bit out of control at times, but actually as I watch him, and my bias is in full effect because I'm rooting for him, because if he
Right.
better he does, he's one of the guys, because his skill set is so unique, he can dribble himself, I should say,
Yeah.
into positions on the court that nobody else on the team really can, not even Boswell or Love. And some of these shots, they look like shots I want him to take, and some have just rimmed out, rolled out. And I feel like if he can just keep, from making too much meaning out of it and just
Yeah.
stay with it, like I think all he needs is a couple of these to fall, and he's gonna settle into like his rhythm a little bit.
Yeah. There's definitely part of the sample size that, and again, small sample size, but definitely part of the sample size where you're going, I can't believe you missed that. But there are some where I'm seeing him and I'm going,
I can't believe he took that.
I can't believe he took that. Yeah. And you know what? Really nice that Caleb has learned seemingly early not to take that shot. And so here's one where Jaden, has other opportunities and, really forces himself into. So he's got the big guy. He's got, apologies, that's not the right one. That was a good one. That's a good example.
It's
that's the example we want.
that was an example of a great post feed.
Yeah, that's where I want. That's an example of where you go, how did you miss this shot? But also Krivos is right there.
He got a little stuck under the rim there.
Yeah, and
I'm not
so
making excuses, but I think that's one of those that looks a little tougher than it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
He should make it.
Yeah. But with Krivos right under it, here's another one where he puts himself into a rough spot. That's,
I don't need that.
Have I seen him make those? Yes. Do I love him, trying to take that little turnaround thing? I don't love it.
Well, it's sort of like we were talking about with Love,
Yeah.
he has to realize that if you're playing for the win, which I 100% believe these two guys are.
Oh yeah.
I trust Love, even as statistically just shaky as he's been through 3 games in that one area. I trust him to play for the win versus Like Courtney Ramey, I did not like. I did not trust. He spent all summer clearly working on his step back three, and he wanted to showcase that. And great, he shot really well and efficiently.
Yeah.
But he wasn't up for the fight. Caleb, as he demonstrates in the final possession of this game with the and one, he's there. He's there to play for the win. I think he's still learning. And with these guys, I just want them to trust that you almost never need some of these shots in Tommy's system.
Yeah.
You can almost always get a better shot, or you can get that shot, whether it's a defended step back three or a Jaden Bradley turnaround. You can almost always get that shot if you're 5 seconds down in the shot clock. So I just want them to learn to trust their teammates and trust that the ball will come back to them. What do we got here?
Here's like, this is the best spot, right? You know, you're in the paint, you're kind of walled off. Are you gonna take a turnaround jumper here? What are you gonna do? You're gonna make a good decision, actually. You're gonna wait, you're gonna look for KJ to cut. And so that's what you're talking about, where you don't have to take that shot because of Tommy's system of cutting and play and off-ball movement. Give yourself some breathing room to allow some guys to cut and to make better action and get a bucket rather than trying to be a hero. Again, in a tough spot, get it out. We got other guys right here.
I thought that was a really underrated athletic play by Bradley. Yeah.
100% right. We have a ton of guys, like historically, that are going to be able to hang on to the ball there and make the right play there. No, that was tough. So some decision-making stuff that I think he can clean up. And, I think the war against Bradley maybe comes to an early quiet close on the Wildcat Authority board.
Let's hope so. And quick shout out to the Wildcat Authority board, because I was remiss last time. You and I got connected there. We're both members. And it's a shout out to Jason Scheer, who does a ton of actual journalistic work. So if you're a Wildcat fan who's interested in getting connected in a really great community of other Wildcat fans and actually getting like intel on the program and recruiting, and highly recommend you check out wildcatauthority.com and also Mike Luke's podcast, AZ Wildcats podcast. Those guys have been super great, and we're part of it as well. So and I lost where I was going.
AZ Wildcats, where Mike Luke's podcast is how you even found Wildcat Authority, right?
Yeah.
Super double shout out.
Double shout out. Yeah. I was trying to make a point about something, but it'll come back. Is there more you want to say about, like, I know what I want to say. So, there's a lot of concern about Bradley, and I don't know the kid at all. I don't have a sense really of his psyche. A lot of times I can watch athletes, just as a former coach, I can watch athletes and get a pretty good idea where their mindset is, where their confidence is. And, haven't seen enough of him yet. He's pretty stoic.
Sure.
I think my basic read on him so far is he's really excited to contribute, and he's also trying to prove himself a little bit. And that leads to him being a little sped up and like kind of maybe compensating for a little bit of anxiety with some overreaching. I thought the 3-pointer he made at the end of the half against Southern was huge.
Huge.
He had a terrible half, and it seemed like he was just totally in his head. And then for him, my son and I were watching, and I was like, gosh, Bradley just needs one to go in. And then when it came to him, I was like, yes, like, let that go, Jaden, let it go. And then it went in, and I was like, great. He didn't end up doing, catapulting him into some sort of dramatic second half, but I'm very
unfortunate
for these next 2 games. Yeah, I'm very hopeful.
Yeah. And I went back and rewatched a ton of it, obviously, but rewatching that play, it was really intelligent off-ball movement by him, which I love. It just shows him his intelligence as a basketball player and his integration within the offense. Flared out to the corner and was there for the open three, and that's great. Do that, work within the system.
He actually was the point guard. I think Boswell was off the court, and he recognized they switched to a 1-3-1.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Lewis and Love that were with him. He sort of like directed. He gave the ball up, and then he faded to the left wing and just shot it. And really, he's got actually, like, I know he doesn't have a beautiful jump shot, but he's got kind of soft mechanics. I think he just needs think he just needs to, he needs to get
Settle in.
settle in. And so
Yeah.
that's what, I think these games tonight and Sunday are huge because there aren't really many other opportunities in the non-conference because of how competitive it is for our newer guys to get settled in. And so
Mhm.
I'm curious to hear what you thought about Philly B's play the other night. Like, I think Tommy's going to give him every opportunity to he's looking to get him into these games. And so I think
Yeah.
we actually will see him. I think the Duke game was pretty unique, but I think we'll
Mhm.
see little bits of Philly in the games. But this is a chance for Bradley. Like, I think he's got to take a step. What would you like to see,
Yeah.
tonight and against UT Arlington on Sunday that would be like settling in?
Against Jaden Bradley, for Jaden Bradley.
Yeah.
Yeah, more of that decision making on his dribble to be more, to either find those quality open shots and take them, please, by all means. Or if that's a difficult shot and you aren't hitting those right now, and like you just haven't really gotten there yet, keep that dribble alive, take your time, get that ball moving within the offense, and just continue to play. I think his defense has been great. I love his communication on the court. I just think with the ball in his hands, he can be very special. But right now, I need him to make a few smarter decisions,
Yep.
slower decisions, even.
Tommy talks about making the simple decision, and I think some of
Yeah.
these so eager to display their skills, or just even if it comes from a good place. Like, I really think
Oh, sure.
Love really, really wants to win, and his defense against Southern was unbelievable. And I don't I don't think he's like selfish. I think
No.
he has a harder time understanding where to maximize his skills within a team concept. But I think he would never do anything to hurt the team. Same thing with Bradley. I think these guys just need to find, like, sometimes you don't have to go for the home run. You just need to
Mhm.
keep the ball rotating. And maybe it's not your time to have that dramatic play, but it will
Sure.
come. Trust the system. Yeah, and they're not there yet. How could they be? But we'll see. I remember, your point is what I was thinking of about Ben Matherin, where if you go back and watch the first couple games of that season, he looked really out of sync. Like, he
Yeah,
didn't
he
know how to operate within the system, did he?
didn't know what to do with the ball read, ball screen read. And Tommy, I think it was Tucson Clip on Wildcat Authority again that
Right.
pointed it out. Hey, there's been a pretty marked change from the ball screen continuity offense that we expected Tommy to bring in for Matherin and Tubelis, put them more into a spread pick and roll, and just to simplify stuff for them. At the end of the season, though, he was godly with setting up other players off the screen, or reading that, hey, they're going under the ball screen, and I'm going to just take this open three. So I believe, right, you believe that there's that opportunity for these guys to just continue to improve. And with the ceiling for a guy like Jaden Bradley with his athleticism, ball handling, you think he can be a major impact player.
Totally. And I think what, we start talking about culture and psychology and development. I think what sets Matherin apart, and I think where Love is as well, those guys have a self-concept that's not going to be shaken,
Yeah.
for better or
Yeah.
worse. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Caleb Love reminds me, I grew up an hour from Yankee Stadium, and
Mm.
Caleb Love reminds me of Derek Jeter in a way, where it's like Jeter could go 0 for 4 with 3 Ks, swinging at balls in the dirt, and then bottom of the ninth, 2 out, he's going to hit an opposite field home run. Like, it's just not even sweating it, like,
Yeah.
just that ability to remain solid in your self concept is so huge for young players. And I think Caleb Love has it. And so I really feel like his efficiency is going to improve as much as he's willing to just learn and trust. Bradley, I don't know. He's younger. I don't know. I don't have a sense of him. But if he is solid and unshakable, then I think he could be pretty solid in this lineup. And I'm using that word twice. I think he could be pretty productive
Sure.
and bring something that not many players bring.
Yeah. Yeah. And productive is the good word to look for here, right? So what are we looking at of him? In the small sense, decision making; in a larger sense, yeah, you got to impact the box score a little bit more too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, just like, honestly, some of these, you make a couple drives, and and a free throw and a three, and all of a sudden you're at 9 or 10 points and 5 assists, and you probably feel better about yourself. And then you kind of
100%.
like take that exhale and be like, okay, now I just know how to get into that space where I can let the game come to me, rather than
Sure.
feel like, God, I gotta hit one, I gotta prove myself, or whatever's going on for him,
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you yeah, do you have anything else you want to say about like the defensive efficiency, or
Yeah, just again that I was really encouraged that our defense is keeping us in these games. And it has been. You can complain about a guy going off, or these are lowly ranked teams. We weren't supposed to beat them like we beat them. We weren't supposed to hold Duke like we held Duke. This is a tough defensive team, and so I'm really excited to see that. One thing I noted that last week on Philly B that I loved his defense. He was involved in a couple of plays against Southern where I don't know if it was his faults, but it was blown defensive coverage, wide open buckets for the other team twice. Philly's pointing to other guys on our team saying you were supposed to switch. Again, I don't know if it was lost in translation or if it was just on Philly, but he was the common denominator there. So worried about him in that way. But yeah, I would love to see him out there. I have a bunch of clips, and maybe I'll toss them into the forum on just Philly B's play and against Southern, and in the second half. I thought he was really, really inspiring on the offensive end.
poetic, man.
Yeah.
He like reminds me of, if you had one of those sort of grainy 1950s, American instructional videos, where like the coach sounds like he's 70 years old, and he's like, now the player steps up to the line and he's putting his feet shoulder width apart. And like Philly B would be the actor in that video, he's so,
Yeah.
he's so like,
I
just,
think he'd be proud of that. I think if you told
yeah.
Philly, I remember I heard when we were getting him that he's just such a student of the game. I don't know if you heard that, but he's just obsessively wants to be a great basketball player and learn all he can. And you see him out there, and he's doing all the right things. He's doing the camaraderie things. I don't know. I clued in on that, where he's encouraging KJ. I see him on Instagram hanging out with the guys, just
They were
he's
at the
in.
women's game, right?
Yeah, he's just in for the culture. He's in for the defense. He's in for the rebound. He's just trying his darn hardest to do every possible thing at a maximum effort, and I respect the hell out of it. And hopefully it ends up with him
There's an
making
example
an
of,
impact.
sorry. Yeah.
No, yeah.
There's an example of the Wildcat Authority intel, Shear dropping that late summer, just that the coaches were so impressed with his attitude and work ethic. And
Yeah.
I think they're giving him every chance to succeed. And everybody can see his limitations, but I think like, if he can find a role, then he's got some really, he's 6'9" and he can facilitate. Did you see, so one thing that stuck out to me as an interesting possible window, again, I'm just interpreting, I don't know these guys,
Sure.
but a possible window into Philly B's psyche that might be more that just was different than I would have thought. I don't know if you noticed it. I think it was in the first exhibition game when it was late in the game, and Morgan State got called for a technical, and Murauskas steps up to the free throw line to take the technical, and Philly B goes up to him and basically like pushes him out and is like, I'm taking this. And then he sank them both.
I love it.
Like, okay, that's some moxie.
Yeah. I've seen a couple examples of him like being like, oh yeah, you're a competitor, man.
Yeah. Philly B is for sure, but I think he's all in on as Sean Miller used to say, playing for the win. I think Philly B's playing for the win. He seems like a great kid, and I think tougher than we might presume he is. He's just figuring it out.
He's tough.
Yeah,
I think he is, and it's interesting when we're looking at Philly and Paulie. I think they're similar height. They're these white Eastern European players. You can mush them together, right? It's the same guy. I see Philly so much more as a 3, and Paulie is so much clearly more of a 4 and even bigger. Philly is closer to a 2-3 to me, and Paulie's closer.
Philly's like a more nimble version of Luke Walton. He's really like a point.
Yeah.
He's
That's a guy who came to mind for me.
right. Whereas Paulius is more of like a more nimble Ricky Anderson. Like I think
Sure.
if Ricky couldn't have played the three, Paulius could play the three. I think like Murauskas' trajectory seems to have a higher ceiling at this point just because he's
Sure.
younger. But Borovicanin actually has like a more of a diverse skill set.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking you. I want to find out for next time. Maybe we can find some, and we'll have at least two more games of data. I want to find some defensive rebounding data because the defensive rebounding on the eye test has been outstanding. Like the guard rebounding has been like it's easy to take for granted when you get a missed shot and you go the other way. But I'm thinking back to last year and other teams where it's like we had trouble securing rebounds, and Boswell, Love, Philly B, Murauskas had 10 boards in 15 minutes the other night. I don't care if some of it was garbage. It's like they're going to get in the ball and,
Yeah.
and two-handed rebounds in traffic at times, and that's not like an Arizona thing. So I was pretty
So let's,
encouraged. You got something?
yeah. So, uh, Arizona
Mm-hmm.
this year, top 15 in defensive rebounding percentage, 84%. You compare it to last season,
Hell yeah.
that's 76%. And look, small sample size, playing some cupcakes, sure. But the rebounding also it go away in Duke, right? It's part of the reason we won that game.
That's what I was going to say earlier when I got tripped up on the Wildcat Authority thing. So last year, do you remember when we played Southern? We played Texas A&M Corpus Christi. We played Morgan State. We played a few of these games where we'd be up 25-35, and then the freshmen would come in. Henry, Philip, right, and it would be like a 16-4 run, and we just looked like we weren't really competing. And there was a touch of that the other night against Southern when that unit came out with Martinez, Borovicanin, Murauskas, Krivas, and whoever else, KJ probably.
Great
And
KJ.
there was a minute or two where it just started to look like pickup basketball, where it's just like we're just going to back off. And Tommy keeps speaking to the standards, which is it's really tough as a coach at the end of a game because you don't want anyone to get hurt. You certainly don't want to humiliate the other team, but you also need to like prime your team to be in go mode, And so he called timeout. I want to say 3 or 4 minutes left, and it seemed like the set they ran out of the timeout. I was going to show this last time, but we didn't have time. The set they ran was this beautiful dribble handoff set with Martinez, Murauskas. I think it was the one where Murauskas ended up with a three, and it was just gorgeous and really, really focused. And I think like they're really trying to be on that this year. When these guys are in, it's like you're playing to earn minutes, and you're also playing to uphold standards. So I want to ask you, like, who are the guys that you're looking at tonight and on Sunday that have a chance to still make their mark on the rotation?
Yeah, I think there's an open question mark for Jaden. I just want to make sure. I think he's firmly in the rotation given his ball skills, but I just want to see him make that progress. It's a great opportunity for him. But you look down the bench, and do we think Conrad's going to be getting real minutes this year? Probably not, but good prep for next year, right? And then, yeah, I mean, Philly and Paulie, I'd love to see both of them look like they could play at Duke, right? And it's still early in the season, and there's still runway to go, and they could get there.
I personally love Conrad. I think any minutes he gets this year are going to help him. He's in an awesome position.
Yeah.
Where he's patient, and but he is an example of a kid that's going to bring a fight to the court, and he may not do everything at a super high level, but he's going to compete, and really like him a lot. Yeah, I like Murauskas. I've been impressed with, he had a little bit of a rough start where he had the injury like right at the beginning of the school year, I think. And so, I'm impressed that even coming off an injury and being new to the system, he's finding little moments, because it's got to be hard. I mean, he's a dad too. Like,
no, that's right.
No, like he's a 19-year-old dad. And just, and I know being dads, like perspective shifts. I don't think he's here to sit and watch, And so I think like he's got a family to take care of. He's trying to figure this thing out. And to see him go in and run the system and not look too anxious has been really impressive. I think he's obviously still trying to find out where his role is. And that's, it's hard. And Tommy's system demands a lot of intelligence. And so
Yeah.
clearly he has like the broad shoulders and the pretty shot, and he's got nice touch. His rebounding's been underrated. He's a finisher, he's
Yeah.
not an issue. Philly B can do both, but Philly B can do anything. So
Yeah, Philly B for life, man.
I'm a fan of depth. I understand the reality that most teams really rely on 7 or 8 when you get down to it. But I think like when you look at the roster Tommy's built, these guys all have slightly different skill sets. So what I imagine is almost like a specialty reliever in baseball.
Yeah.
Like Philly B, there's some sets in some scenarios in games where Philly B might actually like want to be in the lineup, or Murauskas might want to be in the lineup. I don't think there are many sets, but I think there could be a moment where it's like, hey, we want him to come off the screen because he's actually really good at the top of the key running the pick and roll.
Yeah.
And he can shoot.
Yeah, and depending on the personnel that the other team rolls out there, right?
Right.
I thought about for Duke, if we got into a situation where Duke was going to put out a TJ Power, who's a 5-star power forward stretch guy, Kashad could be on him, sure, but I think that's a play where Philly could be on him. Like if they were going to play those minutes, we could play those minutes as well. So yeah, I think there's opportunity for these guys. Within, like you said, within certain areas.
Yeah, because you want them to build on it. And we'll do a whole segment on our guy Henry Vesar when he comes back, because I do wonder if Anderson redshirting, it's very interesting to me. They must have, even amidst all the sort of like kind of bad news about Henry, like he's got a really unique skill set, and he complements, Krivas and Balo are both back to the basket free throw line in big guys. Vesar and Anderson are like 7-footers that want to face the basket and shoot the three and are comfortable. And Vesar, I think at times showed an incredible savvy, passing ability. And I think defensively, if you go back and watch the Red Blue game, like he had this amazing block on Keshad in the first minute of the game that almost happened so fast that it was hard for people to notice, because it was kind of like behind the camera. He's got pretty good feet. So I don't know where his head is. He could be totally checked out. I don't know. But I do think they plan on using him.
I would assume, based on the red shirting, that they are going to plan on, like, that his head is in the spot, right? And that's a big question mark, is just, where are you, man? But I think that based on that red shirting, that they must have had a conversation where it's like, look, we do need you, and this is your time. You're injured. That's fine. You're going to come back and you're still going to make an impact, right? And I assume that his answer was absolutely yes.
Yep. Well, proof will be in the pudding.
Rooting for the guy still. Yeah.
Cool. Well, it feels like a kind of a natural ending. Is there anything else you want to say? We got these 2 games. We got Michigan State. We don't know when we'll be able to record again. I'm going to be down there at the Michigan State game, by the way. I'll be.
Love that for you.
Jersey. So
love that for you.
Yeah, you see me, and my little guy will be there attending his first Arizona game in his little.
That's awesome.
We are very excited. So come say hi if you see us. I imagine you and I might try to record something after that game, or do you want to try to do something before Michigan State?
We're going to find out. We're going to probably after that game.
Actually, I'm going to be at Legoland. Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably not going to have time, but we're going to probably after that game we'll have 2 games to talk about, and I'm looking forward to both of those games. I'm a little worried about, based on some Southern footage, about our ability to contain smaller, quicker guards. Obviously our size won out in the end, but I saw some concerning stuff out of Kylan. Honestly, I wasn't expecting that, but Kylan was playing a little bit of Ole defense, was with the smaller, quicker point guard from Southern, and Love had some of it as well. So looking at Belmont and at Michigan State, are we going to contain those guys, or is that going to be an issue for us? Hopefully not. Yeah,
and Belmont, it's a good program. I think the thing that people can be quick to dismiss lower ranked teams as being this kind of like, well, we should roll them, but like respect to these programs that are proud, that have conviction about what they do. they may be outmanned, but they will run
Sure.
their stuff. And I think like
Yeah.
that's what you saw against Southern, that
Hmm.
they most teams that come into McHale play probably a little above their norm for the first 10 to 25 minutes. And then like it's hard to keep up with us, and
Yeah.
we can enforce just the fatigue factor.
The fatigue for sure.
But like I think I give them a little bit of a pass on Southern because not only was it the emotional piece of Duke,
Yeah.
but also like that travel is the real deal. You're coming back. They probably got back Saturday 4 a.m. Like that is hardcore. I don't care how old you are. I've done it, with NCAA teams. It's hard. And then you're coming back and you're not practicing Saturday probably because the NCAA rules. And so they probably got one day on Sunday and then you're back at it Monday. I expected it to be a little sloppy.
Yeah.
Tonight, I have a higher expectation for us. I think I
Ooh.
need to see the turnovers come down.
Yeah.
We cannot be dribbling the ball off our feet, throwing the ball to the other team. We're going to
Yeah.
turn the ball over because his system demands on really quick processing and decision making. That's fine. But none of this kind of like, let's just throw the ball away and, that crap's got to stop. So,
Yeah.
so I'm actually looking at like Belmont's got a good program and they may not be their most talented team this year, but apparently their lead guard is the volume scorer and they've got a pretty athletic wing. So I think it's going to be a good challenge. And I also expect 5 days of being home that we're a little bit more focused and ready to go. So my expectations are a little bit higher for us tonight that we'll come out and be respectfully competitive. But it doesn't mean we're just going to like run people out of the gym. Like anyone in Division I can play. I think people need to
Yeah.
realize that, like Southern had some guys, man, like they just weren't organized and skilled enough in their own decision making. But when they got shots, they made tough shots, and
Yeah.
Division I players can do that. And so I think what we need to do is respect every opponent. We need to come out with a reverence for, like, as Tommy says, we're going to play to our standards. And so I'm interested in getting a little bit of a barometer on the maturity of this team, because I think if we come out again tonight and we look like we're not valuing possessions as much,
Yeah.
that's a little bit of like, all right, we're not really as mature as maybe as our talent. So that's what I'm interested in. And then Sunday coming right back. Like it's a late tip tonight and then Sunday's afternoon. So it's like 2 games in 40 hours. How do you bounce back? Where's the focus? That's what I'm looking for. And then, Michigan State, that should just be, yeah, we'll see. It should be a battle. It is a battle. Michigan State's got athletes, so that'll be a great test.
Yeah, they played Duke tight, and again, I have a lot of respect for that Duke team. So it should be a tough one. I'm glad you're going to be there to lend a hand from the crowd.
You might not, man. I don't think I've seen us win in several years. Like I've been to 2 Oregon games in Eugene because it's 2 hours for me. Like,
Yeah,
blown out, and I haven't seen us win in person since. Actually, I did go to the 2015 NCAA tournament in Portland because they were playing first and second round in the Ohio State
nice.
and Southern game. So that's the last time I saw him win in person. But we're going to change that this week.
I love it. Love that for you. So, well, you've teed it up to make it sound like it's going to be a really fun game tonight. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, Belmont plays fast too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a bad matchup for Belmont. And so, like, can we really assert our dominance in a way where we're playing at our best because it's what we want to do, not because of the opponent.
It lines up for us really well.
Lines up really well. No excuses.
Let's see it.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, thanks for, if anybody's listening, appreciate you. And Mike, appreciate you taking time, and can't wait.
Always fun, man.
See you after the holiday, and we'll have like some real data to look at, I think.
Yeah, we will. All right. Catch y'all next time.